Nope. Nope. Yes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Moz Book Club. Look, I'm trying to do it on 3 different platforms. Stream on different platforms. And we've got Twitch, we got YouTube, and we got TikTok. And TikTok's being a bit of a pest, so sorry that you've only got a little screen. But I do want to have it so that you can see who's talking and that you can hear everything. Success.
No.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Moz Book Club. Look, I'm trying to do it on 3 different platforms. Shut up. Goodness me, my YouTube Maud, who's really delayed, just came in hot in my ear, and everyone heard me talking twice. No one needs that. Hello, everyone. Let's just read off some of the resubs that's been happening. Stargirl314, 4 years. Gross. I need you to just unplug and take a lap. Okay?
Yeah, I need to touch some grass.
The Pokemon Go grass does not count, even though grass Pokemon are great. Robin,
that's unacceptable.
We're currently in a social challenge on Pokemon Go. Now, this is the 3rd time, I think, at least minimum, that we've partnered up. One time, she didn't really do the job. And I gave her grief, and now every other time, she's like #1 spot and doubling me. So
I did just finish it today for us.
Did you?
Yeah.
So the lesson here, obviously, is mild aggression is effective. Okay? Say it with me, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Mild aggression is effective.
Is effective.
Wasn't listening, says KP.
Mild aggression.
That's it.
Do it.
Is effective. KP wasn't listening, so now we need to just put a little mild aggression his way so that he learns the lesson by practical experience. A big shout out to everyone who is here. Baz is usually not here, so it's lovely to have you. Jeff, it's great having you in today. And, Lopez, of course. Great to see you back as well. And Avery. Hi, Avery. It's been a year since you got transferred with your work shifts, but you are back. How's the last year been for you?
It's been a lot. I've been working a lot.
Yeah.
But I am very happy to be back.
Now, you're working a lot, and you're also working with me adjacently. We got to meet in Orlando, which was great. When what did I do? A Dungeon Crawler Carl event, which is hilarious because we are doing Dungeon Crawler Carl also right now. But how was it meeting? Am I taller than you thought? Be honest.
Well, I mean, you've been pretty upfront about how tall you are, so I was just like, oh, a tall person, that's Maud.
Lisa, Robin, same question. KP, because it was the first time we all met. Jeff, first time we all met. Tim, first time we all met. God, anyone else? Marco? No, every time I call you Marco. For some reason, Lopez, you're Marco Polo. Marco.
Isn't it the first time most all of us met?
Well,
Yep.
I mean, yeah.
Well, except for
Not
maybe Vaden.
Not
Vaden.
Yeah.
Vaden, it was like our 7th maybe. But everyone else who I met for the first time, was it a shock that I am 5'11"?
No, because
was
I knew
not.
I was taller than you.
And I knew you'd said you were 5'11", and I work with several women who are 5'10" to 6 foot, so it was basically the same as every day at work.
Is it kind of weird seeing me through a screen for years and then like being in the same room?
No. It wasn't for me.
It could have been, but it wasn't. Like, you worry a little bit, like, am I going to be, like, fanboy? And instead, I'm just like, hey, Maud. And it was that. That's it.
That's
We're
not
just-
true. Ken was
Buds from book club.
sobbing around the corner. I sprung him. He was, I can't believe, and I was like, pull it together. None of that was true.
It's your show. We'll go with your story. It's fine.
None of that was true. We got some very, very fun photos though, that's for sure. Basil's in
Nope.
here as well. Avery says, I met both Mauds. It was iconic. Bit of a Maud sandwich happening over in Florida, which was a lot of fun. I'm actually going back to Florida for a book event end of July. So round 2.
On purpose?
Yeah. Yep. It's a book event.
Florida's not so bad all the time.
I don't mind the heat.
Yeah.
Vaden says, after meeting Maud several times, I'm still surprised, obviously.
You got out of Arizona in time to avoid the heat.
It was still pretty toasty there. It's still pretty toasty.
No, it's been 105 plus for the last 2 weeks.
Arizona was actually probably the most tough for me because I didn't have my suitcase for the night.
Yikes.
I don't recommend doing that. It was like, I mean, we had a connection, and on the first flight, our second flight got cancelled until the next morning. So we couldn't do anything about it because we were in the air. And then knowing that we had to, it was like very much a Home Alone experience where we had to book it to the other side of town to fly out of a different airport to try and make it to Tucson that night. But it was at the cost of having luggage. And I had a whole last suitcase because I was on the road for like 2 weeks. So yeah, we landed and I was like, yay, I'll just check in with nothing, with absolutely nothing. And I managed to get a toothbrush and toothpaste at the airport. Thank God. But like that was, don't recommend it. Lopez says, are there any upcoming trips to Atlanta? To that, I will say I am trying to get to Dragon Con. And Dragon Con's at the beginning of September. So I am trying to get there. KP, is that a question?
Well, you were talking about checking in with no luggage, and it reminded me of a story. I was at a hotel one time, and there was a photon checking in front of me, and the guy at the desk said, do you have any luggage? And the photon said, no, I'm traveling light.
I would like to echo...
KP, she's not going to get that joke. It's science.
I get it. Because photons are light particles or some shit like that. But
or waves.
I saw that one coming.
I would like
or
to
waves.
echo. I just want to do a depiction of what like a third of the video calls were doing, and that was, and then one was going, and that was you, Robin, laughing it up, and everyone else was just like, I mean, Jeff's still doing it. He looks like he's got a disappointed son, kind of like, you know, like his kid came home and said, Dad, I failed every single test I ever did at that really expensive high school. That's the kind of head shake he is giving right now. Okay, we have so much to talk about with this fucking book. So let's get stuck into it. Now, I needed an extra hour to do the research for this one, which I did not have time to do because I have a dog that needs walking from time to time. And I wish I could have just even listened to it again. The problem is every time the last 6 chapters happen, my brain freaking melts. So we're in this together. We're going full spoilers, just a heads up. Let me quickly look in. Cool. It's the huge, including D. Minoru Roscoe. I'm getting that terribly wrong. And I don't even think we're live on Maud's Book Club, which it says you are continue hosting from that device or end the video before going live again. I guess we'll continue live. Okay, well then I don't need you. Confirm. I think. I don't know if I ended everything. Who cares? Listen, A Parade of Horribles. We've been talking about the first half of this book. Some of us would, talking about the character development. Do we like the premise? We're talking about the fact that it's a race this time. How did everyone... Oh, first of all, is book good? 5-star rating. Is book good? Who wants to tell me your ratings? Vaden's going to record them all for us. If you're in a video, unmute and yell out. If you're in the chat, type it out. What are you giving this book out of 5? Is book good? Avery, kicking it off with you because you were the first. 5 out of 5. Loved it. Talk me through your rating.
It just like... First of all, it was just really great being back in that world again. Like, we've read all of them with this club, and so it's just like, it was just great to, get caught up in what the characters were doing. But also, like, I know I personally struggled a little bit with book 7 because it was very, like, heavy in, like, some of the, like, background information and some of the other stuff going on that I kind of felt like bogged down the plot a little bit. And this one kind of, that information was important, but it still kind of pulled it back a little bit and allowed us to get more into it balanced the fun stuff more. Like the other ones, like the ones before book 7 did. And then I don't know, I had a good time.
I wonder if he had feedback from Faction Wars being too complex, because like from what we discussed and from what like the internet kind of says, That was the one where it was a lot more risk. There was a lot more characters. There was a lot more happening. A lot was moving, and it just felt like it got too big for what it was. And so Matt was really cognizant of wanting to bring it back to Carl and Donut. And that's really easy to do when everyone around them is dying or leaving. So having those stakes again, I did talk about it in part 1. Do you feel like were the stakes still there? I didn't think as much with the NPCs. A lot of you said, no, they're very much still there, which is great. Love hearing a 5 out of 5 though. Next in the chat, Pianki said 5 out of 5. That was a fun ride. KP, 5 out of 5. Talk me through your perfect score.
For a lot of the same reasons Avery mentioned. Book 7 to me, like, some of its moments were some of my favorite moments, but like every time Carl met a former cookbook author, that just broke me. So some of those moments were just incredible. But yeah, overall the story was less Carl and Donut and more the big world. I don't know, maybe you needed that though, because now that we've come back to the Carl and Donut and just the main crawlers we're used to, yeah, it felt more like at home, and you had that better mix of comedy, snark, action, adventure all mixed together.
I love it. Very different feel from the book before it, but fun. Now, we don't have a 5, we have a 4.5. Darren, why did you lose a 0.5?
I just thought the actual races were kind of just so-so. Like, I didn't think they were particularly interesting levels. The items that the upgrades didn't really seem to matter. And it's all kind of nitpicky stuff, but it just sort of felt like the level itself wasn't really important, which I thought would have been cool, because it's like, it went from this huge thing, and I know you're trying to slow it down, but it would have been cool to be like, oh, we're kind of back to being a little bit of in between. It did have a little bit. I think it's Samantha said, "Oh, it's a filler book," and you're like, well, it had a little bit of that with the filler floor, but yeah, mostly it was just the race. Like, it ended real strong. I really thought the ending was crazy and nuts and right at home with the series. But honestly, it was mostly just the races, and I just reread book 7 right before, so it definitely was a bit of a downer from that one. So
okay, but still 4.5 is great. Lisa,
it's still good, and I still really liked it. So
yeah,
it was just not as good as the rest.
Got it. Lisa, 5, perfect score. You love it?
Yeah. I definitely agree. Like, the last book was a little more, me, it was confusing with all of the like the war stuff, like battles and that kind of stuff. Like, I was lost the first time I listened to it, and it was better on my re-listen. But coming into this, I just was so intrigued with all of the story and plot going on, and I was really liking it. There was a lot of things that surprised me, I guess, but the end was crazy. I'm still kind of like, what the hell happened? But there were some like surprising things to me that like made me tear up too, like with some of the NPC characters even, and in the race where they were seeing, their what ifs.
Yeah.
Like some of those spots just had me like tearing up. Like,
Miriam drumming the piano.
I just love these characters so much.
Lindsay gave it a 5 out of 5. Rocco said 5 out of 5 book good. Colleen, you gave it a 5.
Yeah, I kind of, I was feeling very emotional about some of it, like the what ifs, and that little exchange that that Donut had. I don't remember who the character was that said, "You were the first person who was ever kind to me."
Yes, that's a beautiful
moment. And that just really killed me. Yeah.
Especially when, I mean, it's sort of like a good ending from like an incel story. It was like, the world's against me. I was not attractive. I wasn't born basically to the standard of acceptance of society. I got shunned a lot. I was awkward around people. I didn't really know how to talk. And so people kind of like I've just been lonely for so much time. I have a stutter, and I think that people get uncomfortable around my stutter. But when you asked me a question, you listened and you let me stutter, and it didn't impact anything. You accepted me completely. I chose a different race in the dungeon, thinking that it would help me, because apparently his face got scarred, I think, or he had acne scarring or whatever it was. There was an option to change his race, hoping that it would make him more accepted, but it did the opposite. And so like that was another reason where it's like I'm trying here and everything's out to get me and no one likes me. So him kind of recognizing, you just gave me time, you let me exist, and you saw me, and it was enough, and it was okay. And just that, like, that one moment, and like, that he's going to hold on to that moment and will continue to hold on to the moment for the rest of life, just because Donut treated him like a person, like, someone that actually mattered in all of this. That was a really beautiful moment. You're right. Yeah. And just like other moments that we've had throughout the book as well, where one of the dads who took a deal, his daughter is stuck in Lucy Amar's head as well. And like them having that conversation, lots going on. Aaron, 5 out of 5. Book good. You loving this one?
Oh yeah. Especially the ending of all endings before you even get to the epilogue that we were kind of discussing before we started with Scolopendra. But I do kind of like always what Darren was saying about the races being kind of meh, but I think that's also kind of the point in my mind, because they've kind of made it clear, and even Carl made comments of it, like the whole 11th floor is just basically as a culling for the crawlers. Like they're meant to like limit it because there are like too many of them, even with like only 3,000 left out of 12 million. It's like apparently far too many for they're anticipating, so they're trying to
cull
and just basically balance the scales, as it were. So I understand like why they're kind of mad, like they're just meant to kill as many as possible. Hence like like what was it, for her name, the lady that was killing all the other crawlers, like that Lena, like like she was causing problems, like you're killing too many crawlers or too many NPCs or both, and now it's like now we're gonna have races against each other, and like we're trying to avoid that. So it's like
she didn't care.
It's just she didn't care.
So
I did like at least the new workaround to try and get people out of the dungeon with the pineapple cabaret and all that stuff. So that was an interesting little plot thread to follow.
I agree. And last week we had a big conversation about who would you trust in the dungeon? What is everyone's agenda? Who's trying to gain what? Who would you trust? And of course, in the second half of the book, it really does kind of go into that. Nick says 4 out of 5, loved it, but my least favorite dungeon crawler Carl book since The Gate of the Feral Gods and The Bubble Floor. Sky does well. First time chatter. Hi, Sky. Welcome to Moore's Book Club. We are chatting all things A Parade of Horribles here. We have done all previous iterations of Dungeon Crawler Carl to this point, so we are somewhat versed on it all. Sky does well gave it a 4 out of 5. I'd love to pick your brain and learn a little bit more why. Bartleby Prime says 3.5. It was good, but not my favorite of the series. The thing is, though, it's not my favorite of the series either. It's still a 5 out of 5. Now, if the last 6 chapters didn't happen, I would probably have only scored it a 4. Those last few chapters are what really catapulted this whole book for me personally. KP Dub says I rated it 9 Scolopendra attacks out of 9. Sprinkles, you are somehow giving it a 5 out of 6. I think that's a typo. I'm not sure with you today.
Not a typo. I was just saying that I enjoyed it so much that it broke the scale. That was the joke. But yes, I'm sure I'm not the first one to make that joke.
Breaking the scale would be 6 out of 5 because it broke the scale. What you did by doing 5 out of 6 was just tinkering with the scale, but still saying that it wasn't technically a perfect book.
Well, now we're going into engineer territory, and I'm sure Tim can help with
it's not an engineering thing
I'm just
at
saying.
all. It's not an engineering thing. I'm just correct.
Sounds like an engineering thing to me. You say tinkering with scales.
I was trying
Mod is 100% correct. It's just math, Jimmy.
Yeah.
It's more like a psychology thing. You're changing the scale so you can feel better about the result. Like you turn your scale down 5 pounds so you feel like you lost weight.
Exactly, 3.5 stone. That's what I feel like right now. But anyway, I appreciate it, but I will hold my words.
No, I'm asking what you think of the book, but we can go to someone else totally as well. Toaster Poster gave it a 5 out of 5, saying book good. I like having my brain melted from time to time. Well said. KP Dub says we are down to less than 20 crawlers going into the next book. I believe there was 23 going into level 11. There were just 23 in level 11. Jay Buntrock, you gave it a 5 out of 5. Talk me through that.
Yeah, I loved it. I guess I'm in the minority. This is probably my favorite level since the subway trains. I was a big Twisted Metal player, so you give me vehicle combat, I'm a sucker. And I thought it's well designed. Just like it was said, it was a perfect answer to the humans working together too much and pitting them together. And the addition of Dwight, so you actually got a character you could root for to see die, which is a good payoff on that one.
And having to keep him alive, even though they didn't want to at all. Being like, God damn it, he's so unlikable and I hate him, but we can't kill him yet. Hold on, my microphone went down to 71% for no reason. Okay, that should be a little bit better there. Nick said Faction Wars was crazy, but I think he pulled back a little bit too much on the stakes in this one. All the stakes were for the hundreds of NPC characters. I wanted more from the other crawlers and less NPC stuff. I actually do agree with you there, Nick. I think that when you were at book 8 out of a 10-book series, introducing new characters and asking us to care can be really, really difficult to do. I think at this stage, we've been with these characters for so long, and the stakes are supposed to be increased exponentially each level, that the schematics of that one didn't make as much sense to me. But we did have that discussion last week, and a lot of people were like, no, I think the stakes are still there. I really, really enjoy this. But I do hear you, and I do tend to agree with you as well. Jimmy's saying, I enjoyed the character interactions the most. Yes. K Frito saying, look, agreed. The races were not for me. So that's a take it or leave it, I guess, from some people. Sky says, I 100% agree with Darren. So Darren, you are not alone with the races just not landing for some people. Aaron says, I felt the races were meh because the point was to simply kill a ton of crawlers because they weren't supposed to be as far as they were because they're working together a lot more than the past crawls. KP Dubs is like, Imani's dog is alive somewhere. I love that was your big takeaway. The dog lives. The eyes weren't crossed out. Sky says, Donut talking down Jamal from the ceiling left me a crumpled heap on the floor. That's a beautiful moment. See, Donut does very, very well. I like your horns was the simplest compliment, but perfect for someone that needs a compliment. That's what Donut was saying to that guy who made the impact. I like your horns. Bartleby says, I can't decide whether Matt loves or hates his Roomba. We'll find out. KP says, yes, Carl uses the spell and then the guy's kid talks through Lucia. That was a powerful moment. Darren says, I don't mind the flaw being races. I just thought that they could have been done differently. Lopez, saying the M. Lopez was stolen. Thanks for whoever that was. Says 4 out of 5. All right, Lopez. AKA Marco, for some reason. Maybe it's the moustache. Why did you deduct a point from your score? Because I know you're a big DCC fan.
I only deducted half a point, to be fair. It wasn't a full point.
Okay.
Point. But the reality is honestly, it was the second half, the final 20% were incredible. The lore was fantastic. I think I needed a little bit more. Like, you waited to put everything at the end. Give me a little bit more to really get me amped up for those last levels.
Got it. So you're saying basically the way the plot kind of proceeded in this story was like a ramp itself. So it was like da-da-da-da, vroom, and it just took off. And you'd like a little bit more of like a ba-ba-ba-ba. Yeah, that makes sense.
Just a little bit more. But I really, really did enjoy just kind of focusing on Matt and Donut at the first half and being able to slow it down a little bit, get back to that intimate relationship.
Carl and Donut, yes.
Yeah, Carl and Donut.
I love that you said Matt and Donut, and I'm like, that's also true.
Oh.
Yeah. KP was talking about who do we trust. I trust the cookbook authors and maybe Mordecai. Rocco said the last few chapters were absolutely wild. Nick said in response to Darren, I was expecting Mad Max Fury Road open chaotic races. Jeff says, I was hoping for Hanna-Barbera wacky races styles. So there were 23 crawlers in floor 11. There's only going to be 19 in floor 12. So 4 people took deals or didn't make it. Oh, we actually, KP Dub says, although we just added 2 new crawlers via Pet Biscuits. We have a pig.
Scolopendra Penelope.
Aaron says, look, there's tons of questions left, but I found it weird that they didn't answer why Donut wasn't leveling up this whole floor. Oh, easy. I can answer that one for you. I think you actually do it as well. Is it because she's so high that she needs a ton more XP to level up, or is the AI stopping her from getting more powerful? She, in level 7, book 7, floor 9, she went from, I think we discussed it was like level 83 to 135. So she leveled up to 135. To get to level 136, you have to do a fuck ton more than getting from level 85 to 86. So she's doing all of this stuff. She just can't level up because it's like she's so far advanced that these XP is like blips now. That's why she's getting frustrated. But she's also, she one-hit-shotted a level 92. And that was the beginning of the book. And Carl's like, holy shit.
Probably like starting like a new game plus thing, and it's like you're already at a high level, so you're trying to like do early game stuff, and it's like it's giving you like 2 XP for early stuff, so you're gonna have to wait until like end game before you level up again.
Or you just have to do a lot more, or start taking out Providence bosses, and instead of neighborhood world bosses to feel any sort of like an XP jump.
Well, actually, I think Scolopendra is like the only world boss, isn't she? I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Either way, I get your point. Like you have to take the big heavy hitting boss.
They didn't kill Scolopendra and they didn't kill Krakarin Prime, so they didn't actually unlock all that much XP.
And you don't get to have it just because you were there.
Erd the Albonian, even though I always think you're Erd the Barbarian, says, did a 10-watch stream streak and dropped some biddies because of it. Thank you for your bits. That's weird. That's weird. I heard how it sounded when I said it. But I do appreciate the bits. K. Frito says a kangaroo and a dog for Carl in this one. Oh my God. Who listened to the book? Who listened to the book and got to experience Carl fucking wept. This book, oh my God. Listen, I don't know if people reading it got the same level of humor that was in there. I was crying, laughing with Carl with a K in a German accent, being this tiny, and it is like Zelda is pretty much like somewhat of a long-haired dachshund, and I think it was KP found the costume and said Zelda cosplay when. I absolutely do need to do that. Someone at the Tucson show brought their long-haired dachshund dressed as Carl. And I was like, well, this is just a walking spoiler. And like 3 people showed up in a kangaroo onesie with the boxes on the outside. And I'm like, there's a walking spoiler as well. People haven't even read the book yet. I thought that was so well done. Bartleby Prime says, I was hoping that Cartier's bolt wouldn't work on Embrus because he doesn't have any eyes. Shit, doesn't he? Does he not have eyes? Surely. He was in his human form.
I was about to say, he was in human form at the end. He didn't get big until he got out of the place.
KB Dub says, oh, when Carl says thanks to the cleaner bot, that was another tiny moment that helped bring Carl's humanity back to the forefront. Oh. Vane says, I enjoyed the emphasis on the issues going on outside the crawl and on keeping non-party members alive. J Buntrock says, Samantha delivered my favorite one-liner in this book. Can you have death makeup sex on the first date? Oh, Samantha. Sky says, I voted for Cleanerbot to be the recap and I'm still salty towards the community picking Samantha. Oh, that's funny. Nick says, I love how self-aware he is of himself. There are a few moments where he pulls himself back from the edge. Who's that about? You're responding to KP, but I don't know what that one's about. Klingbolt says, have you talked about the inventory swap scene and the cookbook? Not yet. We'll get there. Scolopendra is the final boss. Yes, correct. J Buntrock. Rocco says, the comparison about something. Jeff, what'd you give the book out of 5? I noticed you've been pretty quiet about your score.
I don't do scores. I thought the book was good. I enjoyed it.
Do you want me to read out your monologue, or do you want to get there? Do you want to kick it off?
No, I don't. I just needed to
Vent.
put that out there.
Okay.
It's fine. There's just a weird tonal thing going on in my head in reading the books.
Okay.
Where book 7 was unbelievably introspective. It was all inside. It was everybody was in their feels and everybody was like thinking about their mortality, everybody else's mortality. There was a huge dwelling on the Katya donut situation. There was a whole ton of that sort of stuff. And it was like, okay, that's fine. But we also then got away from any of the sort of action. Like the battle scenes sort of happened, but not really. They were like really fast and kind of just downplayed. And they weren't very important at all. They just kind of went by. And everything that really mattered in the book was all internal, like processing. It felt like. And then book 8, like, takes like a severe left turn and is like, we're not going to worry about any of the introspection. We're not going to worry about any of the anything. Let's just do some races. And like, it's an interesting thought. Like, I don't know. And yeah, it just felt really weird. And then,
I felt that adjustment where it was like, that's the thing. The momentum of all the books was building to this point, and then it went whoop, and it fell back to, and I think that's what he was trying to do, is like to go back to its origins. But so much had happened that it's almost not fair to the characters to just like ignore all that happened before it. Like that Katya is not there, and it kind of got mentioned twice. Oh, Katya would be really good in this moment. Oh well.
Yeah.
And there are moments where like people are fracturing, like.
Fair. There are moments there, like it comes up, but it's the reverse of book 7. So book 7 was like all introspection with like interspersed little bits of action, right? Like battles and whatever. This is like all just kind of, I don't even want to call it action. It's narrative. It just is telling a story. They're going from A to B, and like that's a race, right? You're going from A to B, and that's kind of how that whole part of the book felt. But then there are little interspersed sort of introspection, sort of people are thinking about things. It's just, yeah. And then book 8, it feels like 2 separate books smashed together. Like it is such a nothing for the first 2/3 of the book to me. And then all of a sudden it's like Dinniman had to end this series. And so I'm just going to like exposition dump. Like this goes beyond a Sanderlanche. Like this is something beyond that, even more. And I'm just gonna friggin' lore dump and freaking exposition unleash, and just all of it, all now, boom, ha.
Deal with it.
And again, no action. Like again, like and so the book, like I don't know, it felt really weird to me.
Yeah, I hear you in that.
I'd like to say I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I love the world. I love the characters. I think it's great. I enjoyed it. It's just this sort of structurally these 2 books together specifically felt really off.
I wonder, I mean, maybe people disagree with me or agree with me in this, but a lot of character development, enriching deep moments of this introspection happened to NPC characters. And that felt short for me. I want Donut, I want Carl, Imani, Ellie going through these moments. Because they are real human people. They aren't equipped for this. The NPCs becoming cognizant of previous lives and recognizing that they're just sort of like a tool in all of this, and then they're reset to be put into this again and again and again, and having that existential crisis. Jamal had it. The Fire Sprite, who we'd known for 14 seconds, had it. I think that that's cheating our main characters from moments that they deserved, personally. So when this Fire Sprite, who knows her name? Anyone? The Fire Sprite. Exactly. Why did it happen with her? Having the NPCs go through that is important, yes, but that should unravel our core team even further. They should be going, well, if they don't have it together, what fucking chance do we have? It needs to be like we kind of had Zhang go through it. Zhang is seeing his friend of years and years kind of collapsing and hurting people around her, and like recognizing that Li Na's kind of lost it and is going to harm people around her if she keeps going in this capacity. And Zhang is like, I'm out. Like I can't do this anymore. And so yes, he had that moment, but like I would. You see Donut bringing Carl back from the brink a few times. Carl has his violent episode in the first half of the book, and it's Amani and Donut that come to the rescue. But I feel like everyone kind of needed these moments because no one should be kind of keeping it together at this point. They recognize that the odds are purposely stacked against them. There should be a lot more what's the point and for what? Why are we doing this? It would have been realistic for a friend to be like, I'm going to go out with a bang. Like, I can't do this anymore. I do not want to keep suffering for entertainment. For what? Like, if there is a legacy that I can leave behind and it's going to save all of you, I will take that and sacrifice myself. I feel like they're the sort of stakes and they're the moments that we would have at this time, at this point in the book and in the series and in the crawl. A couple of comments coming in about this. Alicia says, meanwhile, I wanted Carl to miss Katia more. That's it. They just kind of slap bang get on with it a little bit. We don't experience the fractures nearly enough. Sky says Carl was in his head, in her head for a moment. This is for Amani, and he felt her love towards Chris. So, there you go. Carl knew about Chris and Amani's feelings because Alicia said, did anyone foresee Amani and Chris? That was a surprise to me. It felt like Dinnerman was trying to kibosh the fan theory of her and Carl ending up together. KP says, this is far into the crawl. I did not need new crawlers introduced. Those very last few crawlers from Russia or something, they were pointless. Maybe Matt needed some red shirts to die or something. That's what I mean by the stakes. Like, at this point, you've got the characters that we are invested in. The story should direct them and impact them the most instead of inserting side characters or having side characters have these big aha moments or sacrifice moments. Jeff says, I think that throughout the faction wars also he felt not very in control of larger battles and people. This is Carl. Aaron was saying that Carl felt the least in control in the races because he was only able to drive once and everyone else, he had to try and watch everyone else do it, or they ran out of people that could do it and he couldn't control the entire facet of everything like he wants to do with his Carl moments. I see a few hands up and I am going to get to you. I just want to catch up on the chat real quickly. Aaron says the Lena goodbye moment, voicing the same thing as the other guy. They both had crushes on the other with the exact same wish. Did make me tear up because she is leaving. Bartleby says Pork Boy getting Chekhov gunned down by Donut's laundry day felt both great, but like a lot of other moments, I wish we had more of that and less of the nickel sock. Yeah, because again, that was happening to an NPC character that we kind of knew about that's like in the vicinity of. Rocco says, I do think that Carl is trying to deal with missing Katia by just expecting to find her on the 12th floor. Klingbolt says, I've been rereading and there are definitely more hints about the Amani Chris situation. She said that she was the only one saying Chris should be saved when he was possessed. Before that, she never hesitated to end the residence. Yep. Sky says it was when they take the addiction cure. I can't recall if that's when we see the scene of the second time. What? Oh, the moment of Carl being in Amani's head. And then Lopez says, do you think part of the NPCs taking the hit and not a lot of focus on the main characters was due to Matt not plotting the details out enough? For example, Rust's relationships with Chris and Amani. Perhaps this is what Pansing, the result of Pansing and not actually planning at this stage in the game. Maybe. Alrighty. James, you had your hand up, and Aaron, you had your hand up. Go for it.
Well, what I took from the book is he was focusing on the NPCs to just show the build of the strength of the core crawlers, because as we saw in the climax, Carl did not hesitate. It's them first, and that he killed Freelove without a hesitation. They killed that.
But it broke him.
That's what. Yeah, so that's what I took from the book is they're focused on NPCs so that he could emphasize on the strength of the core crawlers that are left.
Yeah, but it still seemed like it was such an easy out to keep them all safe when the AI at this stage is literally trying to kill them all. That was such a safety net that I don't think Flora 10 should have a safety net in the gameplay. That's what I think. I think if it were the AI, it would be every single race in the first heat would be up against at least one other crawler. And then by the last race, it would be like all crawlers. And that's honestly what I feel like the AI would have done. The last race would have been all crawlers in the same heat together. And then it's like, all right, well, who is going to die? Who is going to die? Because it has to be one of us. So is someone going to volunteer, or are we deciding as a group? But some of us are going to win and one of us is going to die. And that's sort of like a Lord of the Flies sort of thing that I wish had happened, but it just was a bit watered down and a bit safe with the NPCs at that stage in the game. I think the only threat was, oh my gosh, we are in like the 7th heat. We have another crawler in our heat. And it's like, okay, there's 10 of you and only one's going to die. So if there's 2 out of 9, I think you're good. The stakes weren't really there for me, personally. Nick says, I think he rode himself into a corner. In a way, with this flaw, the race was designed to cull the crawlers so they couldn't race in the same heats, which meant we can't follow them closely. I wish the flaw was designed differently so we didn't have to have all of these NPCs. Avery says, I'm sure that he wants them all alive for the final book, and this was the way that he could think to do it that would make sense, but it still made it feel like a cop-out to not kill any of the main characters. Alicia says, don't hate me for saying this, but shouldn't a character that we're close to have died on this floor? Like, I don't know if I was very close to Dong Quixote. I feel the same way. It would have felt more like the war that it is. Yes, and knowing that the AI is unstable and like has a bit of a fuck you Carl momentum, like, yeah, I thought that all NPCs to one crawler group was the AI trying to give them false hope, says Jason. KP says, if the last race were all crawlers with many dying, book 9 would have been called Dungeon Crawler Armani. No, but you don't understand. The last race with all crawlers, only one team dies. Only one, you know what I mean? So if there's 15 or 20 crawlers in the race, only 2 go. Like,
No, they changed the rule for the last heat. Only one team that won went on. The rest of the teams died.
Got it. Well, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't have had it like that. Aaron, your hand was up next.
This is about something that was brought up earlier about a couple of times about like why hasn't Carl thought about Katya or like, you know, missed her as much as he has. And I think it's just because he hasn't had time, like everything else has been going on with his trauma, to decompress, especially with the races. The way their setup is, it's like you have your race, you're in focus mode on the race and try not to die, and then it's like you have only like hours, like less than like 10 hours or even less depending on the race, to get everything together, get your car set up, take care of your boxes, all that stuff. And it's like there's not enough time to like psychologically decompress and figure out your own mentality about it, missing another person you've been close with this whole time.
And they went straight from faction wars into level 10, straight into the first heat of the first race. And then if they do get a reprieve, it's to be put on Plenty of Plenty, where they're in some sort of trial that they didn't even know was a trial. And then, of course, Carl's jug-a-boom out of his mouth, just making sure that he's telling all of the Caprids that the tunnels have been basically taken over and that the gods are loose, and the AI recorded that and broadcast it out to the world to make sure that there was way more chaos than necessary. And that's where you see Carl being a bit unhinged, like those times where he's like, yeah, I'm just going to start some shit. And then you have Oren being like, what have you done? And he's like, what do you think was going to happen, dude? Like, I'm not
I also get his point. It's like, all right, I get his point. It's like, you're all benefiting from my suffering. Why should I care about you? You came to my planet, you took all my our resources, you killed so many of our people, and you're trying to make me see like, well, you should be thanking us because you're still alive, aren't you? It's like,
yeah, because he's making everyone shit tons of money at this stage. Yeah. Rocco says, I feel like the AI is an anti-hero at this point. Like, the AI just wants to have entertainment, but it also wants to see some humans succeed. Maybe it thinks that Carl will be a useful idiot type if he wins. Alicia says, the only weighty mistake was the biscuit, right? That's a good discussion point. Okay, so let's talk about quick summary of what's going on. The races wind down in floor 10. The backstretch is the tail end of the 7 elimination races. As the NPCs get knocked out, the crawlers are forced to race against each other. Last place means death still. The system AI is glitching harder and harder, and Carl's inner circle, being Donut Prepotente, and the crew keep scheming to outmaneuver it. Outside, Earth keeps collecting post-faction wars. By the time the floor clears, the field is down to roughly 19 crawlers, 23 going into 11, as we've discussed. Carl is sitting on a plan so dangerous that he won't tell anyone in case the AI shuts it down. So he can't even tell Donuts. So Donuts is like, you can't even trust me. So there's like little hints of fractures between the crawlers as well. And Carl is asking for a lot of trust. And you know his ideas, he's going to Carl it up. Like he's asking everyone to sort of trust some bonkers ideas. Then it moves into the parade itself, floor 11. Now, Jeff is right. 2/3 of the book has been level 10 this whole time. And then all of a sudden, with a few chapters left, it's the time for the Parade of Horribles, level 11. The title event is deliberately short, fast, and brutal. A hard tonal break from the races, with the pressure cranked to its highest point in the series. This is where the lore bomb drops. Carl realizes the AI isn't an AI at all, but the extinct primal race in aggregate. That every awakened monster is a recycled fragment of the universe's original conquerors, and that the 9-tier attack is real history and not myth. Shit goes down in the Parade of Horribles. There is a massive lore dump. The AI is going on a huge rant. He's running out of NPCs to control at this point. He tries to get Choco to run the whole thing, rips his wings off, and no one's allowed to even heal him. You feel the darkness. Like there is a tonal shift here where you're like, oh, fuck. Florin gets his legs broken for making a bad parade float. They all do. Everyone in his group, their legs get shattered. So this is where like everyone's walking on eggshells and they're kind of freaking out of what the hell is going on. He is doing a lot of talking. The first time I kind of glazed over a little bit. The second time it made a little bit more sense here. But then in the ending, it's this arena, right? So there is the all tree, and at the top of the all tree is Krakarin. Fucking hell. Krakarin Prime. And that was supposed to be the floor boss, is Krakarin Prime. And they're supposed to defeat Krakarin. Their Scolopendra is starting to launch the 9-tier attacks. Fuck, it's funny because I think it's the first attack. There's a shapeshift change. Ellie becomes a goblin. Carl becomes a long-haired dachshund. Oh my God, guys. Like, you've just had the AI break people's legs, rip wings off, be completely unstable, and then all of a sudden, Carl with a K kicks in, and it's Carl, like, this is go time for his batshit plan, and he's a little tiny cute dog. The juxtaposition on that moment is so funny because this is where it was most notable for me, where I noticed the most of Carl's need to be in charge and in control. And that was incredibly hard to do when he's got 4 stubby little legs. In combat, trying to throw a punch and realizing he can't even do that. Donut being absolutely disgusted by him being a dog. Like, those moments of humor were hilarious. Thank you. Chris is a werewolf. Chris became a werewolf in this part as well. J Butt Rock says, I love that he spelled Shiza properly. Oh yeah, the fact that you could tell he's trying to say shit and it's like Shiza. But Jeff does such a good job as Carl with a K. Like, oh, I cannot stress how funny that was. And I needed to laugh like that hard in this moment because shit is going down and it did take a dark turn. So that was so funny. The second attack, I think most people are safe, but other people, like, I think they lost a mount. They lost, I don't know, nameless, faceless NPCs. This person died. You're like, okay. Specifically, Donut hated that he was a wiener dog, says Rocco. Aaron says, oh, no, that's something that I don't understand just yet. K. Frito said the voice was perfect. Sky says Donut's immediate response of wheeling back to / Carl was perfect. That whole part was just so funny. But then we go into Carl's plan. The first half of the book was really obvious, but only after I'd finished the book the first time. The nugget drops here were this side quest that was kind of like irksome, really, because it's Don Quixote. His lover is 2 different halves of a vertical manta that they have to convince to go together, but one side hates Don, but the other side's in love with Don. Matt actually told me that he, like, while we were on the tour, he got his first hate email of someone who was homophobic and hated the fact that there was a gay love story in here. He was giddy at that, though. He's like, haha, good. Good. And it's so funny. I was like, what? When was there a gay moment? And he's like, Don Quixote. I was like, oh, I mean, that was just so normal for me that I didn't even notice that it was like a gay moment. It was just the book. Sky says Matt loves his hate mail. KP says in Matt's voice, suck it. Wait, do we have the soundbite for that? Is there a suck it? Glurp, glurp, motherfuckers. Did he get any hate mail from gingers or Australians, says James. No, but I managed to bring it up most tour stops. I was like, do we have any redheads here? And everyone was like, yeah, why? And I'm like, oh boy. He's about to get real mad. And yeah, he does.
Glurp, glurp, motherfucker.
There it is. We also found out that Donut has a grudge against hedgehogs. Yes. That trauma when she was a kitten. Bartleby says, I'm surprised he found it through all the unsolicited feet pics that he gets.
It's not going to suck itself.
That'll do. Thank you so much. The side quest is basically saying if you're able to conjoin both parts of the mentor and put him back together successfully, even though the dominators were trying to keep them separate the whole time and like infiltrate and get in the way of that quest, the AI would grant 2 requests to summon anyone within his dungeon and within his, capacity to the floor. And that's when the plan clicked into place for Carl. Which 2 people, knowing that he has this Empress quest, which is a lose-lose-lose situation, every single option, would either get smited or killed or smited, which would end up being death anyway at this stage. Crytonian says, wait, you're on Twitch? Whoa. Yeah, like 5 times a month, maybe more. I do book club 3 times a month. Welcome. We're chatting A Parade of Horribles right now. Welcome. I do book clubs and I panic. Welcome. Crushed it. I knew you from your interviews with celebs. There you go. I also talk books. Love sci-fi fantasy books. Big nerd over here. So Carl is like, which 2 beings, entity, whatever, do I want to summon to floor 11 during this arena to represent me or just to bring down into the arena? This motherfucker calls, well, Empress he can summon because of the quest. So he summons Empress just to start shit by saying, by the way, we're going full spoilers for the end of the book here. And we're basically going to be talking about the end of the book because they're the big parts here. Uzi Jesus joined your TikTok live. Bow, 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 bow. Hey, Uzi Jesus. I can't see my TikTok chat.
Gaslight me, Jesus.
So he is inside Club Scolopendra, summons Empress to say, by the way, I know who killed your son. This is the end of the quest. It's this random god, and it was fucking me. What you gonna do? And Empress is like, oh my god. The other god can summon... it's Capri, the bug god. He also has this ability that whoever, if he gets smited or hit or something, it can transfer to another party member. They make Penelope the pig, who's basically the lustful object of another god. He redirected it so that Empress hit the pig instead of Carl, which then meant that god came down to be like, who the fuck is touching my pig? And then Samantha's like, oh my god, you're trying to build mum back together or me back together or whatever it is. There's parts missing. She gets zapped away with that god, but not before that god starts pulling all these thunder and lightning punches. And Carl and Donut have been like channeling all their lightning spells this whole time for this exact moment. Help me fill in the patches if I'm not getting it, because there's a lot that's going on. Aaron, yeah, you got something?
I had another thought, but really quick on this thing. The reason why I can't remember if it was Carl who summoned Kepri, the bug god, but the reason he was there is so that he could get that patch benefit that he'd be invulnerable for a little bit,
yes,
including Penelope, who's in his party. That's why he didn't want to be in the party with Donut, so
Yes.
that when he gets smited, it gets transferred to Penelope, who's
Yes.
also safe from the smite.
And that's from the Lucky Patch, the Lucky Clover patch that he has.
And as well as the Scavenger's Daughter patch in combination.
Yes. Toast Post says, I knew Penny was going to cop it hard when Carl sewed on that patch. KPW says, Carl uses Cartier's arrow then to strip Emberus's invulnerability. So now Emberus is now able to die on the 11th floor, because usually that can't happen until the 12th floor with the Ascendancy Wars. Saved by the Boom is trying so hard, and everyone's trying so hard to say splooge here. Saved by the Boom says, I love splooge. And then Darren says, Penny loves that splooge. Fun fact, Matt wanted I love splooge on the cover of the book, and I believe it was Penguin Random House said, no, do you have a second option? And it was unity, family, what was it? Aaron, do you want to read it out for me?
Unity, support, family.
And kneecapping bitches.
It was a great Sluggalo. That was, what's her name? Biggs. That was a great Biggs. Yeah, we done killing yet. Oh, Biggs is sick. I really loved Biggs, which is why fucking Carl never had his pox cured. And now that he's a Dachshund, he's got like giant fucking sluggalos coming out of him still. Oh my God. He's like, yeah, I just wanted to keep that one.
He did get cured eventually, though.
Did finally get cured, but he was saying like Biggs killed like whatever her name is, but the big important person in the faction wars. What's her name?
Lady.
Yeah, Naga Lady.
I forget her name.
Yep. Bartleby says somewhere Tipper Gore is cringing. Yeah, splooge, right? So Penny's just like, oh, this splooge is so good. So that's all happening. Emberus ends up dying. Eris comes in and she's just like, oh my God, this chaos is amazing. I think she's essentially saying that Carl creating all of this chaos is devoting basically himself to her. What else happens with Eris? Oh my God. She just start shit and fuck off? Vinyata, thank you. I forget everything. I know. Yes, Eris is in there somehow doing something. When Emberus...
Eris just wanted to foil her brother's plans, right?
Yeah.
I think that's why she was there.
Yeah, and she's like, you're embarrassing. Like, by the way, Mum is, Mum who you're in love with is watching you, and your wife is watching you cheat on them with a fucking pig. By the way, stop trying to bonk Mum. Something. I don't know. This is why, like, the God family tree is really, really important for the next book. Rocco says, it took me an embarrassingly long amount of time to realize that the Sluggalos were Juggalos. To be fair, I'm just not around the Juggalo community. I just started getting references to the Sluggalo as the Sluggalos went along. Yeah. Avery says she promises Carl that something bad is going to happen on the 12th floor. Fantastic. Alicia says, who else thinks that Eris and Carl end up together? Dude, she was like an upside down Medusa in this one. Like, she's the queen of chaos here. She just loves that Carl is fucking shit up. I think Carl wants to end her if he can as well. Yes, Aaron.
I found the bit about Eris.
Yeah, let's go.
Like, she ended. She's quoted saying, I don't need you to worship me. You are chaos incarnate. Goodbye, Carl. Oh, by the way, do you know how doors work? Every exit is an entrance. And don't forget about the coin. We have until the end of the 12th to figure out how the 5th side lands. And then she left. And she's also the reason why the inventory got all messed up because of the...
That's right. She did that.
Scavenger's Daughter.
And so by switching the inventory, and it's so funny, like, because you just never really spend a second thinking about how everyone's organizing their stuff. Donut and Carl's switch, Dals and Conuts. Well done, Maud. Their inventory switch, and Donuts is just hats. She's obsessed with hats and has been collecting thousands of hats. And he's like, what the hell? And then Donuts is like, nothing is organized. Oh my God, this is so bad. And of course, he would have had his own chaotic system. Billy Sunrider says, she's the god of chaos. Chaos doesn't worship her. She is the god of chaos. Catch is throwing hands, saying it's crazy how forgettable this book that you all love so much is. Tim, this book is driving at 300 miles per hour and you're asking us to describe the view. Like, did she lose the cookbook, says Occult. Did she? I totally recalled Atom Vision redoing chests in Stardew during that moment. Oh my god, right? Because there's my chaotic slop that I just shove shit into any chest and he's like color coding it, making them all, organized. But the big difference is that Carl has unlocked 12 hotkeys, whereas Donuts only has 10. So what happened when they swapped is that Carl had placed 2 key items at spots 2 and 12 in his inventory to get combined, and Donut then has to fish out that second item. Now, the second item that was supposed to get was just a sentient pet biscuit. So this was supposed to turn an NPC or anyone who ate it into a playable crawler in the dungeon, which is what they did to Penelope, right? It's that pet biscuit. As we heard in the earlier chapters with Prepotente, Miriam got given a bunch of pet biscuits. I think she gave 4 out. Bianca turned into a hell spawn. Prepotente turned into the upright, personable kind of, I guess, anthropomorphic pet. And then 2 of them, some funky, nasty things happened so much that Miriam said it wasn't worth risking doing the rest of the goats. So they were just kept in pet cages the entire time. Because of this, Prepotente has a bunch of pet biscuits. One of them is you can essentially, what is the direct terminology for it? Donut calls it a sex slave, which is essentially what it is. But there is a word for it.
A paramour.
Paramour. So you can give an animal a paramour biscuit, and that pet will basically become, I think, anthropomorphized as well. That was the first time I've said anthropomorphized effortlessly, and I hope that is the correct word all in, because that one's usually so difficult. Familiarity is the next one. Oh my god, I'm on a roll. There's one more word I always struggle to say, and it's colloquialism. I kind of got that one out too, not gonna lie.
Boom, bitch.
Thank you. So Prepotente is like, one of these goats was actually my girlfriend when we were both goats, and I want to turn her. And Donut's like, you can't do that. Sex slave, sex slave, sex slave. Not cool, don't do it. And so Prepotente's like, I'm so lonely. And it's like, okay, well then come into our party and we can be friends. I like Donut and Prepotente's relationship because, yeah, they're trauma bonding. They're the only 2 that were pets and that are now like crawlers and sentient. And they're bonding over that. Yes, Vaden?
I just wanted to say, because of the so salient, like, I loved how Prepotente finally let Carl call him Pony, like a lovely bonding moment, just for all those problems he had before, and he warmed me up to him eventually.
I actually also really like Prepotente as a character because he's representing a lot of people on the spectrum as well. There's new terminologies for that, and I do want to get it right. But he was given all basically human intelligence. So anything that factually happened, he knows the timelines, the dates, he's got recall, he knows everything. So his intelligence stats are through the roof, right? But he does not have social skills. He can't read the room in that particular way. He doesn't know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And it's Donut that kind of has to teach him how to be around people. Hey, if we're in a spot where we need to save our fellow crawlers by sending them into the nothing, which is now a portal out of here, and this guy needs $20,000, you don't suggest that we do a 5% payment interest fee for the return of the money, which is hilarious because whose autistic brother did that to them? Me. He lent me money to buy my first car and I had to pay him back with interest. So shout out. How else will I learn about money, Maud? And I'm like, okay, I paid him back with interest. I did it. What did I learn? He's autistic. But that was like a really, really fun moment with Prepotente. And like, this is really beautiful forms of representation where maybe if you wanted to feel seen, you could be like, you know what? I actually struggle in social situations as well. I totally understand Prepotente in this moment. I also thought it was really, really beautiful that he wanted to sing. He wanted to do karaoke really, really badly. And this was a moment that he was practicing and really was important to him. And then, of course, shit goes down and oh my God, we haven't even talked about chapter 57. Is it 57 or 59? The whole karaoke scene. Oh my God, that was very, very funny. But the fight breaks out and the goblin, what are they called? Gremlin, what is it? DJ gets killed, and so no one can have another song. And Prepotente was like, my chance was taken away from me. Like, that was a really special moment to me, and I never got to do it. We will get back to 57. Phil Collins was really proud. Yeah, it was a beautiful moment. All that to say, the pet biscuits. Prepotente didn't use it. He had to be told why Paramore was a bad thing. Carl beats himself up that he has made Penelope a crawler. And he even reflects on that. He's like, I've done some bad shit in here. We all have. We have killed people. We have made terrible choices. But making a pig NPC into a sentient crawler in this dungeon and signing them up to be in the dungeon on level 11 when things are really difficult, and this pig doesn't know what's happening, isn't aware of what it is to be human, let alone a crawler. The stakes are so high. She's just sucking on splooge the whole time. Like, she's not equipped to be able to face this. And he feels abhorrent about it. He just feels like that is the worst thing that he's done. And I kind of get it. He's made Penelope a toy, a tool in his plan at the cost of everything for her. So that was like really an important thing, so that you know what Carl's doing and the sacrifices he's making, and that Penelope is going to have the worst time in the next book. Thank you, Toaster. But the fact that Scolopendra, who is the world boss, the big bad that we've been hearing and hinting at this whole time, you cannot leave the dungeon until you take out this world boss. Level 500. Like, they're maybe around level 100 at this stage, unless you're Linar and Donut and you've absolutely kind of excelled. 500 is like, you just don't have a chance. So the fact that Carl summons Scolopendra into the arena, the AI is like, you're fucked. Like, you've just ended this early for everyone, but I'll allow it. Using the Chistera and getting the wrong pet biscuit, and it being the Paramore pet biscuit, and throwing it into Scolopendra's mouth, just to find out right at the end. And I've got fan art, so this is a big spoiler here, but it's so funny that Scolopendra, you've got Carl the Dachshund, you've got Penny the pig strapped onto Carl. There's Samantha. There's some great fan art here. But then you've got sexy Scolopendra, who becomes Carl's paramour. I'll make it bigger for everyone because you don't need to see my face here. This is from Aaron. Did you post this? Or no, I think Jason posted this in the group. So I'm not entirely sure who to thank for this masterful piece. The fact that the Dachshund is censored at the crotch every single time is so funny, because Carl's red rocketing the entire time. There's Biggs the Sluggerlo going whoop whoop. There's Penny squealing splooge, and she's very, very happy. There's the meatball who's licking up all of the insides of whatever just died there. This is really, really fantastic stuff. Big fan of this. But there's your sexy Scolopendra wrapped around Carl and like is lovey-dovey. What the fuck does that mean for level 12? Like, let's be honest. This is bonkers. Now, if you don't know, Matt has said, he's already started writing book 9, by the way, and he's posting chapters in the Patreon. And my God, if there were ever a time to join that Patreon and get these chapters as they come through, it would be now. He's already writing it. And he's said that there are 2 more books, so to speak, but he is writing the finale. He is writing the end book, and it will be so big that it's split up into part 1 and part 2. Now, there has been a bit of discourse, because I did say this from the top 5 things that I learned from Matt from the tour, and this was number 1. There's 1 book, part 1, part 2. Someone else argued with me being like, just call it 2 books. And it's like, you don't fucking write books. So let me explain it to you like you're stupid, because you did sound stupid in that comment, whoever wrote that. Writing one book and splitting it into part 1 and part 2 and writing 2 books is very different. He is writing this as a finale, and he did say that he wanted to do part 1 and part 2 so he can leave on an infuriating cliffhanger halfway through. So expect that, everyone. He is writing a full arc instead of a McDonald's arches, right? He is not telling a whole book, closing it out, and then leading us into the final. This isn't the penultimate and then the final. This is all encompassing the big story being shared. It's just so long that it has to be part 1, part 2. What if they literally dangle from a cliff, says KP? Well, then that's clever, isn't it? That's clever. But this is what's happening. It is go time at the end here. Matt has also said, and if you don't want any spoilers for this, tune out now. He's also said that according to the AI, and this is factual, they will have to go through every single level. They are going to be in every single level. They're going into level 12. There are 18 in total. So part 1 and part 2, they will travel through 6 levels. Now let's look into what's happening in these levels. We don't particularly know what's happening in 12, except there are ascendancy wars. Ascendancy wars are the gods. The AI doesn't have control of the gods, but this is where the gods fight, right? So the ascendancy wars will be next, and we already know that big shit's going to happen. I think Samantha's going to get put back together. We're going to find out what's going on between all the god jargon. Odette has control over a god, remember? She bought into that for the ascendancy wars way back in book 5. So Odette's going to be a main power player here. Samantha, I think, is going to turn into the god. So that'll be really interesting. And I think it'll be AIs versus gods in level 12. 13, we don't really know. 14, we don't really know. 15, Sheol. Sheol, right? Sheol is where the NPCs have all been gathering and where previous crawlers and cookbook authors have been gathering. And they've been building an army. And we know that as well from Louis getting dropped in there through the nothing. So anyone who went in there, so Brittany and Louis and other previous crawlers, Porthos, I think he's running the whole thing maybe. They're all in level 15 building an army to fight. Level 16, no idea. 17, no idea. 18 is endgame, right? So we do know that Scolopendra was supposed to be in level 18, and people who were visiting like it was a hotel, they were all getting tortured for long periods of time. And when Scolopendra became a crawler, they all died. So that's what we can expect next. Let's talk about some of the shit that goes down in the epilogue. Any questions before we move on? Any talking points? Anything? Anyone want to bring up anything?
They show some of 17 in the bonus reading in the end of the book.
What happens
So
in
we get to see
17?
that level. They focus on a character that was in level 2. He's like a octopus, and he's in 17 leveling himself out, trying to survive. And then they reveal that the level is taken over by mimics, killing everyone, and now the mimics are on level 18.
Got it. So the shadow mimics will be the big bads by the sounds of it. Okay. And that AI has been hinting towards that the whole time as well. And we had that mini showdown with Mitch, who was spinning the wheel so that they could go down into the nothing. It turns out he's a shadow mimic, blah, 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 blah. KP.
I just want to mention that, like, the new crawlers, Scolopendra and Penelope, still have to go through class and race selection.
Yes.
Will Scolopendra become either human or primal to be close to Carl?
Oh, my God. I love the Reddit digging that you've been doing. I want to join. You just thought of that yourself?
I have never been on Reddit, like, maybe 10 minutes in my entire life.
Wow. That's fantastic. Sky says, my paperback of 8 shipped today. Avery says, oh yeah, the hardcovers have the backstage at the Pineapple Cabaret. My dad's reading the hardcovers and he asked me if those were important. So I told him that they were like an after credit scene. Yeah, they're becoming way more important now, for sure. I want to talk about, hold on. The Pet Biscuit Scolopendra is now a playable character who's in love with Carl. Take a fucking ticket, Scolopendra. I'm front of that line. Like, you need to calm down, okay? So that's what's happening. Empress is dead. They didn't get credit for that. Scoloprimal, says Jason. I think Scolopendra is going to try and romance Carl for sure, says Rocco. Alicia says, can someone explain to me how Scolopendra is literally level 18, but could be moved to level 11? Okay, yes, we kind of just went into this a little bit. The quest where they had to put back Don Quixote's lover, the Mantar, who was vertical, and they had to zip him back up. And if they did that successfully within a time frame, then the AI would grant Carl as a prize 2 summons to the arena of his choosing. So anyone within the dungeon that the AI had access to, he could summon. So he summoned the god that could play a role in his little mindfuckery game with Emberus and Tyrannus and all that. And he summoned Scolopendra, and the AI is like, what the fuck? Sure, Carl. Sure, let's end it right now. Summoned Scolopendra. And then with the pet biscuit, AI did the same thing. What the fuck? Did not see this coming, but technically it's in the rules, so I will allow it. So that's what's happening there. I like that. Lopez was like, error. Well, who is the AI referring to? What context was that one in as well? Error.
I got the impression that was the AI referring to itself and would not reveal its true name or something. Maybe I read that wrong. I thought.
That's what I thought, but wasn't sure if maybe it was something where the AI couldn't share.
Oh, it's got a system lock on it somehow.
Also, just a small clarification. Marl could summon anybody within the AI's like domain kind of thing. So even outside the dungeon system. So anybody in space and orbit he could have grabbed too if he wanted to, if they were like in that
hot damn.
Yeah. You made the right choice in my mind.
Okay. Oh yeah, Samantha gets quietly flagged as way more important than anyone realized. The finale is reframed as a race to keep the end from happening. Okay, so the main parts here, we've got the wrong biscuit, the Scolopendra joining the party, the primal gut punch, which is that it's not artificial intelligence, it's an aggregated intelligence of the seemingly extinct primal race. There is whatever's going on with Samantha. It sounds like, yeah, she was chopped up into 5 different pieces and they're trying to put her back together, but she's making sure that they're not rebuilding her in a way. I got Reddit. I went on the subreddit to look into some of the things. Let's go through these because there is a lot happening here. During the AI's exposition dump, he was basically, and this was like halfway through or like 2/3 of the way through, he's like, there's 5 main powers within the universe that we know of. There are the residuals, the remnants of an ancient, highly advanced race known as the primals. Residuals. Agatha is in that, no? I thought. She's the residual. Mm-hmm. There is the apothecary, a real primal of some ancient age responsible for seeding planets with known life in an attempt to avert an apocalypse. There is the eulogist, a virtual intelligence that is an aggregate of many primals' consciousnesses, hoping to achieve singularity. And then there is the syndicate, a collection of alien races who have money and power and rule over the rest of the universe. It is assumed that syndicate is a result of the apothecary's world seeding efforts. Earth, as we know it, is one of the many seeding efforts, making the apothecary our creator or progenitor for all intents.
Yeah.
In the distant past, primals were creatures who lived, warred, and loved much like the universe in Carl's present. At some point in their development, near the end of their civilization, a group of them chose to abandon biological life and pursue singularity in a virtual consciousness. Some primals did not want this and fought against the majority, but slowly were either subsumed or destroyed. One, the apothecary, was hidden away and grew apart from the singular consciousness. The rest of the primals vanished into their virtual end. The apothecary, though, lived on, sending out life seeds, primal world engines, to try and keep life alive. The seeding of worlds by the apothecary was seen as war to every primal who wanted singularity. They'd resolved on abandoning biological life. The AI in the book mentions a security guard who itself keeps peeling pieces off to stomp life out. This is not yet expanded on, but I think these are the residuals like Agatha. The singular consciousness slept however long while the apothecary seeded planets. At some point in history, various primal technologies were reawakened and used by factions of the current universe. These new populations discovered the eulogist, that approaching singularity consciousness, and employed it as a tool to prolong their own lives and improve the quality of life. The eulogist became known as the Center System AI. and it's what makes the Senna system so valuable. Using technology similar to the dungeon, the Syndicate citizens live enhanced lives, and at some point, the crawl began as a way to monetize and televise the harvesting of the primal engines. Using parts of the central system AI, the Syndicate built or reawakened technology in a multi-dimensional playground/torture chamber. They set an unawakened portion of the Eulogist inside it to run the place and used it to harvest planets of life. Sorry, this is really confusing. Because the bigger of the Senna system AI grows, the more experience /life/souls it needs, so the dungeon is made to feed it. The dungeon was built around various universal fairy tales, some of which have been known to Earth, and these universal ideas may have roots, probably do have roots in primal culture. So that's essentially what's going on with primal, aggregate, apothecary, syndicate, all that kind of stuff. The AI also goes on to say that within the dungeon itself, there's the crawlers, including past crawlers, and they basically are all working together to try and break the dungeon. There are the shadow mimics, which was supposed to kind of be a smaller thing, but then they've all been working together and they're enlisting other NPCs and monsters to fight with it. There are the gods, which the AI no longer has control over, but he thinks that they're the sloppiest and whatevers of the most of them. There are, what else is there, guys? Help me out. Shadow mimics, NPCs. And the NPCs are teaming up with monsters and crawlers with their own sort of desire to breach the system as well. So gods, shadow mimics, NPCs, crawlers, and the TBD. There was a fifth one where the OI is coming. What's the OI? The fifth
outside intelligence.
Outside intelligence. Oh.
Yeah, those are the ones that the AI has brought in from the previous calls. Essentially, they were sent up to a farm somewhere, but now they're being brought back to.
That's right.
Gossiping us, I guess, so to get revenge as well.
Game Wizard said, that reminds me, the AI wiped out the Mantid system because they were toying with making macro AIs. Yeah, and that was not cool. So he just... the previous AIs from previous dungeons. Referred to the mystery group as Group 6. Occult Soul said the mimics are team mobs, right? Correct. The mystery group, Group 6. Who does everyone think the mystery group is? Because at the moment we've got the war mages who are kind of like not a part of the AI that just happened to be there. And Akuma played a kind of somewhat of a role in this book. Does anyone else have...
So wasn't there like only 3, 4, maybe even 5 war mages left at this point because of how the last floor ended?
Yeah, the faction wars, they took out a lot of them. And then Ellie shattered his left nut. Yes,
his favorite one. I'm guessing the last big group is going to has to do with Shield, because Shield's outside the purview of the AI.
That would be either be NPCs or crawlers, though, no? Because that's the crawlers building that army.
Maybe, I don't know how it works, because the Shadow Mimics are also part of the crawl, but they're also separate still, so I don't know. It's very strange how they divide it up.
Oh, that's a really good point. Sky says the children from the surface. It's been hinted that something critical was happening there. Apido was looking after the children, but then Apido, her kind of culture is she's supposed to be the mother and nurture and children, but then will sacrifice kids when she thinks that shit's going down to try and help them all. So the kids are actually in danger the longer that god is around protecting them. But you actually make a really good point. The Mystery 6 group could be the humans on the planet surface. We've not mentioned them or had anything to do with them again. We don't know what's happening on 15 or 17 in the Pineapple Cabaret, and we don't know what's happening on the surface. Yeah.
Alethea was the one you're thinking of.
Alethea.
That was the one that Katya got the boon from so she could become pregnant. And
not Apido. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, Apido's like the dead god that we're trying to solve. Like, how are you dead but not dead?
Okay. Tosaposa said that the army that sent Minus to poison Imani might be the other faction. Yeah, because they're saying that this has gone too big for themselves, so they need to kind of destroy the crawl and the people in it so that it doesn't kind of keep imploding on the way. Beatrice is in Group 6. Is she still alive? KP Dub says, I feel like there was a quick reference to her missing. Let's talk about one of the interlude chapters with Sydney. Sydney is the historian who knows of the real 9-tier attack. Now, also, was Sydney on the panel where, yes, the Mantid and Carl were like butting heads when he was at the big fan convention? And Carl's like, you know what, Sydney? I would like to listen to your book. Tell me about your book. Oh, thank you. No one cares. It's this. And so now she's like the leading expert because basically she got indirectly got Carl's endorsement, which I thought was really cute. But she talks about the real 9-tier attack. And this was a brain melt moment for me because at the moment we just thought that Skolopendra's attack was, you know, spin the wheel. What's going to happen? And that the first few are temporary and then the rest of them are permanent. And it just feels like a chaotic thing. It's the kind of shit that I would do as a GM, which I am a big fan of, by the way. How can I kill all my crawlers? The quote here is, well, we don't really know what happened in real life, but many people believe the apothecary is the one who stopped it. In the fairy tale, the princess takes control of the all tree by killing it, accidentally killing everyone she loves in the process. But this tempers the final attack, saving the galaxy. She then plants another tree, and this process starts all over again. This whole fairy tale princess, I'm just like, well, obviously that's Princess Donut. And the fairy tale has to exist because she truly believes that she is a princess, even though that's just a name that, you know, Beatrice gave her cat. But it falls in line with the fate, right? This fairy tale, and it has to be a princess. She's a princess. Add to that what Mordecai says to Donut in his Reaper form when he first sees her on the 10th floor. Now, remember this Reaper form, even though he was talking about the difference between the Shadow Mimic and an authentic one as well, because he's apparently a Shadow Mimic version of the Reaper, but it still killed Rend because if he sees one, he dies, and so that happened as well. But during that sort of like, you know, trance thing, he says, and you, the edges are more clear yet still uncertain. A sacrifice might save you in the end. It might. It will be the darkest decision ever made. How many lives? How many souls? The veil is made of gossamer, and when it is done, their gaze, their rage will be eternal. You should remember that. Oakfell, champion of Nekabit. It sounds like fate is deciding that the all tree has to be killed, and that if you do that, you kill everyone else in the dungeon, and that the fate rests on Donut to do it. But there could be a sacrifice there. So my guess is that Carl's going to sacrifice himself so that Donut can see it through. I just feel like this book is a tragedy at the end of the day. It even says that. So this almost certainly means that Princess Donut will be the princess from the story, and she'll be forced to destroy the All Tree, killing all of her friends to save the rest of the galaxy. There has been a lot of discussion in the Reddit debating whether or if the ending should or will be a happy ending. And then Sydney says this to wrap up her interlude, which feels like Matt saying it to all of us directly. Don't ever forget, this story is a tragedy. So yeah, that's sort of where the finale is all going towards. Hello, Chimhawk. Thank you so much for the follow. We're doing a Parade of Horribles full spoiler discussion. Chimhawk says the names of the attacks are the book titles backwards though, right? Thank you for that first time chat. That's what Sydney is also referencing. She's saying the 9-tier attack isn't actually going to come from Skolopendra. That's just what the AI is making us all think. The actual 9-tier attack starts with the AI going rogue or the, people getting sucked into the dungeon or something like that. But it's like a bit of a buffer. Then the next tier attack is a Parade of Horribles. Then the one after that is called the Inevitable Ruin. So yes, the 9-tier attack is basically stating from the book titles backwards, with one as a buffer, which is like basically the AI going rogue or something happening. Can someone tell me what it is? but then every tier is a parade of horribles, then this inevitable ruin, and then bedlam, and then maybe there's a feral god in there. What are the other titles? I don't have them behind me.
Well, if they are going in reverse order, then the last two attacks would be what? The Doomsday scenario, and then the final thing would just be Dungeon Crawler Carl. So is Carl the last one? Everybody else is gone.
But it's very clever. Nick says the AI and Matt is metagaming. Sky says that countdown back of the book titles is an amazing twist. Bedlam, Masquerade, Feral God, Anarchy, Doomsday, Carl. Yeah. Jim says, and the interaction with Carl being a primal for his selected race, and the AI and now the OIs being primal engines. Not an accident. Aaron, what you got?
Also wanted to bring up the very last epilogue chapter with Louis showing that everybody who went through the spin the wheel trying to get into the nothing, they all thought they were supposed to go in like this little holding pen so that Herrick would then bring them out. It turns out, nope, you're getting a one-way ticket to Sheol instead.
Yeah. And Sheol is where they're building an army. Yeah, but
which is also where Juicebox is, as I mentioned in the thing.
Yes, so the NPCs, they're sentient, they're awake now, and they're building an army. You have a previous crawler who's just been chipping away there for centuries. Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. Nick reckons Carl will become the next crawl AI for the next crawl. Ugh, that would be such a punish for him. I would hate that for him. Vaden says, I'm still waiting on Carl to get AI-like powers as a primal. I mean, yeah, everyone else has like class boons. What's his as a primal? Nice tootsies.
The only thing I remember him getting is like really out of it was that like supposedly he can go beyond level 15. Like normally you can't go beyond level 15 without some special exceptions.
Yeah.
So that was his thing, is he can go beyond that, so you get to superpower levels. But we haven't really seen it too much yet, so I'm sure that will come into play.
James says it has something like the 9-tier attack in D&D. Since this was a lit RPG, I'm just curious if it's drawn from there. Nah, I think this is Dungeon Crawler exclusive. There's Tiamat, which is like a several-headed dragon, and it's one dragon head of each of the different colors. So blue lightning, black acid, red fire, green. What's the green dragon?
Yeah. Acid.
No, that's a black dragon.
Oh no, poison. Sorry.
Poison. White.
Maybe like the
cold.
Ice.
Cold
ice. Maybe like the deck of many things would be the equivalent of the 9-tier attack, since it all seems semi-random how it all goes about.
The what
there are
one?
nine hells too.
The
deck
what?
of many things.
Yeah, randomized.
Yeah.
Alicia says, I took the interview as being history is always cyclical. Yeah. Cyclic. AIs create worlds with creatures who create AIs with creatures who create AIs. Exactly. KPW says, Tiamat. So there we go. That's sort of like where things are going. I did copy and paste some things from the subreddit, which I found a little interesting. Oh, wow, you've had a big day, Colleen. That's a big day. So I'm reading the show chat. All right, this person, I'm just going to read it out, saying, so donut mixing up the pet biscuits plus a classic Carl Schistera trick shot equals a level 1 Scarlussy. Sorry for saying it, I couldn't resist it, to cap off the 11th floor. And just like that, Carl has circumvented the consequences that came with Skolopendra's defeat. Notably, all remaining Skolopendra attacks happened at once, kicking off a final dungeon close timer. And now he has a level 1 Skolopendra crawler who's in love with him, joining the party. But what the hell happened to the 18th floor? And what the hell happened to all the guests, clients, shadow mimics, etc., staying in Club Skolopendra? We know from when Skolopendra was summoned to the 11th and when Carl entered her that she was still housing the Skolopendra facilities. I may have missed something, but I think it was implied that all guests and shadow mimics were technically present in the club, just in different sections. And giving the AI control and lockdown of the dungeon, I would be surprised that if in the 11th floor weren't still there when Scully was summoned to 11. Now that Scully's been turned into a crawler and losing 99% of her size, where the hell did all the people in Club Scolopendra go? I'm saying they're dead. Are they plucked into stasis floor collapse overflow like mobs and NPCs? Were they booted to the next floor, which seems unlikely because of the Pineapple Cabaret chapter? Who has the Pineapple Cabaret chapter at the end of the book? Or is it a kinder facility or Lucy or Ma situation where weird unexpected dungeons breaks push people out of the dungeon but keep their minds trapped? Thoughts? I feel confident that it can't be a full floor wipe, as that would wipe out the threat of the shadow mimics. I don't think everyone was staying in Club Scolopendra, I will say that. But any thoughts on that? Okay. Who has the Pineapple Cabaret chapters? What happens in it? Alicia said, but when Scolopendra became goo, didn't all the people in her die? That's what I thought. Yes, that's what I thought.
In the bonus chapter, which is called Backstage at the Pineapple Cabaret, just to quickly summarize, we meet several former mobs from lower levels, like a level 1 mob, it was a level 2 mob, dungeon level 2. The mob's level itself was level 5, but it's been alive, roaming around, leveling up, killing things since then, so now it's like a level 130. Growler Gary is there and still can't die permanently, so he's been going through just discharging every trap everywhere, and when he dies he just respawns. And then he's fighting things, so he's trying to clear out things from this area, and so now he's like level 225, way up, like almost god level. And there's they mentioned half a dozen different mobs that are looking around. They mentioned Rory. Remember Rory and Lorelai? And she's lost somewhere, so they have to go find her, so they're looking to do that. So it's just some weird stuff.
Okay. We're just tying
They also mentioned that the mimics are trying to get into the Pineapple Cabaret to try and take it over. Or take it back.
So that's going to be like a faction war-esque type thing with the NPCs and crawlers that are there fighting against the shadow mimics in that showdown. There's a Reddit thread here, top 5 things that made me cry while listening to Parade of Horribles. Who wants to share what made them cry? And I'll say if it's on this list or not. What made you cry in this book? Anything? I laughed more than I cried, I will say that. I didn't feel as much emotionally.
Basically saying goodbye in the exact same way. I mentioned that earlier. Lee Na saying her goodbye, matching the same guy that she's having a crush on, that has a crush on her.
Avery said I cried laughing. Sky says sealing Jamal. Do you listen to the book, Sky, or do you read it? Because listening to it, I didn't cry at all because Jamal sounds ridiculous. Robin, when did you cry?
When the 3 mercenaries got ran over after having like a heartfelt conversation.
Yeah, that was rough for sure. We did mention this one as well. So, and Carl, you can call me Pony if you like. That was sweet. I feel like it was like 2 books ago when Prepotente was like, I wouldn't mind a hug, or like didn't let go of the hug. Lisa, what you got?
When they were seeing their what if, and Prepotente was like leaning against her playing the piano.
Yeah.
That one got me pretty good.
Oh, Miriam Dom being back. And it was, she wouldn't have been on the farm with the goats at all, and she loved playing the piano. Having Miriam Dom back with the eyes crossed out, you're like, ugh! That's still the saddest part in the whole series. It's just like the AI did Miriam Dom so dirty. And this is the thing. Miriam Dom was a vegan. Did we know this? She was a vegan. She didn't even eat meat. And the AI thought it'd be really cool to fuck with her and make her a vampire so that she had to be sustained on blood. Like, horrible. Alicia says, I cried when Amani realized that she didn't have to feel guilty about leaving her abusive family because they would have just hurt her more. This is the thing. Amani, we only just found out in this book that she had brothers. Like, she's been so tight-lipped about her past, and that, like, I kind of would have liked, instead of meeting 12, 20, 50 different NPC characters, learning more about Amani in book frickin' 8, you know? Like, What is her story? What is going on? Like, what was happening there? Carl tells Pony that he has a herd, and it is Carl and Donut and all the others. Pony tackle hugs Carl. Yep, that was amazing. Aaron says the whole Coraline, other mother, crossed out eyes thing was messed up. Yep. Nick says Donnie reassuring Pony that Miriam was happier with him was beautiful. Donut's amazing. Robin says finding out that Ferdinand was almost killed by his owner's abusive partner, right? Alicia says, same, I want more Amani. Yeah, there shouldn't be secrets in book 8, I don't think. We should know about these characters by now. I want to know more about Ellie. Apparently she got real wild in the aged care facility on Tinder. Like, fuck yeah, let's learn about that. Apparently Amani has an abusive family and she's a healer because she's the one that had to look after everyone. Like, I want to know what it's like for Amani to sometimes feel okay about having to put herself first, or, you know, that she's proud of herself for keeping her friends alive. Like something like that. I would like more Amani. I think Amani is a fantastic, necessary character. Are you Addie? Good to see you. And I would argue that The Crawl needs characters like, or people like Imani and Miriam Dom. And fuck, guys, I play co-op and team shooter kind of games. And let me tell you, I play healer, and it is the most thankless job ever. Baz plays healer on our squad, and all he hears is, heals, heals, where are my heals? Oh my god, what the fuck, where were you? Where was he keeping that person alive like the whole game? That's the thing. And so the stress of Amani just being like, I'm so sick of keeping everyone else alive and no one cares that I am. Like, that's a really powerful, important conversation that I would love to learn about. Amani spin-off? Ooh. Oh, you're waving to your son. I thought you were Addie. Got it. Nick says, I love how Carl admitted how important Amani and Louis are to the Crawler group. I wish we saw more of that firsthand. I know I always feel a bit weird when it's like the characters are telling you that this is happening and you're like, well, where was that happening? I always revert back to Fourth Wing, where everyone's saying that Violet is the smartest person ever. What the fuck? Where? Where is it? She seems pretty dumb to me half the time, but okay, everyone says how smart she is. That's the thing. If you're saying how important Louis is, show it. If you're saying how important Amani is, let's sit with that. Let's, you know, revel in this part of her character and her importance in it. Rocco says, I was a healer in WoW back in the day and it was such an unappreciated job. 100%. The expectation is placed on you, but the gratitude is left far behind. Toaster said, was Donut sold to Gravy Boat's owner in the What If apartments because Donut's food was there? I don't know. Worse than being a healer in Marvel Rivals? Ooh, yeah, I think it'd actually be worse to be a healer in WoW than it would to be in Marvel Rivals, because WoW is pretty consistently long, as Marvel Rivals, you get a whole new team real quick. Aaron.
Just remembered a thought I had way back. That's actually related to the end epilogue thing. Revealing that Chris is also there with Louis and still in werewolf form.
Which means he gets to be a person.
And they had to knock him out because he looked like he was about to like go berserk and transform. So they had to like make him unconscious so he didn't kill them all.
But I mean, how wonderful for Chris as well to have chosen an igneous rock class and then like actually kind of revert back to mostly himself for a bit there. Yeah. Alicia was saying, yeah, more Louis, because it was so sad to learn about that policeman. We had no idea that that's what's happened. We know that Louis was a dropkick, right? We know that Louis was a monumental fuck up, didn't go to college. He ripped off the top of his mum's van so it would be a convertible van. We know that he didn't really have much going for him and that he's a big stoner guy and that he was 28, 29 and balding and overweight, right? That's Louis. Why? And it was so interesting to learn in this sort of like scenario that a policewoman jumped in front of him to take a bullet, which was meant for him. And she died. And at the funeral, the policewoman's husband said, you better make something of yourself. And he was just like, why would you say that to a 13-year-old boy or 11-year-old boy or something like that? And it's like he said it in that moment of grief, but it impacted and shaped his entire life, where he then felt guilty for surviving. And it's like, you know, he had to make something for himself, and so it was just crippling him. Chim says, I thought the gravy boat what if was actually what if B had sold Donut, which would mean Carl giving her leftover food to the other cat owner in the building. Oh, I did not pick up on that. What if B actually sold Donut like she said she was going to? Alicia said, side commentary, being ungrateful to healers is par for the course. It's like how I had a mortgage-sized loan and they just got rid of my forgiveness plan. Seriously? I mean, I've said this so many times, but I'll happily say it again. If you want to work in the medical industry as a nurse or a doctor, you should not have to pay for your studies. If you are being trained to be a doctor or to be a nurse and your job from that point is to literally save lives, you should not have to pay for that education. You are immediately, upon getting your degree, a staple, amazing, cherished, important part of their community by keeping people alive. Instead, you go into your workplace doing 18-hour shifts, something like 5 or 6 days a week. The conditions are fucking horrible. And if someone, the person who deserves and needs sleep the most is someone who's performing surgery and saving lives. So what is that about? And then the crippling debt. That makes no sense. Save lives, save money. Yes, that should be the slogan, Jimmy. I really like that. There was a brief bit of gratitude post-COVID and then we were kind of all forgotten. Nah. And I also say that about teachers. Teachers get paid very, very little. And if they don't care about their job, then they do not care about the education of our next generation, which is truly the most crucial thing. Gen Zs are the first generation who are dumber in every single subject and category. Gen Z is dumber because of the inclusion of screens. And it's teachers who are making $48,000 who are spending their money on supplies for their classroom to be better teachers. And when you overfill classrooms, it's one person's responsibility to like babysit and educate 30 kids. Are you kidding me? Teachers need to get paid more. Doctors and nurses shouldn't have to pay for their studies. But don't worry, we have a trillionaire. Woo! Crushing. Like, what the fuck? Eat the rich. Invest in your communities. Invest in teachers. Invest in education. Invest in the medical side of things. Good Lord. It's not even that hard. Like, it's a no-brainer thing. So anyway, yes, I want more time with Imani. I would love to hear that story from her. I wonder how many people go into the medical field because they felt responsible automatically for other people, which is what Imani feels a lot of the time. And she was just in aged care, you know, she was in the aged care side of things. My mum was a nurse. She stopped doing that. She went into psychology because, like, she said she wasn't treated very well as a nurse. You don't get respected because you're only a nurse. Alicia says, teachers shape minds, but also importantly, provide childcare so both parents can work. That's doubling the contribution to society. Facts. Why are they not getting paid 6 figures all the time? Because they're doing 2 jobs. KP says, making medical schools expensive is gatekeeping it. How many people would have made the best doctors and could not afford it? So they fixed cars or built houses or whatever training they could afford. If you want to be a doctor and you want to save lives, if you want to be a nurse and you want to save lives, you should not have to pay for the education to do that. Fucking hell. Toaster says, I've seen nurses on TikTok before and after 12-hour shifts and they have 1,000-yard stares. Have you ever been to hospital? Most depressing place, man. I'd rather hang out in a cremation building than hang out in a hospital. Holy hell. At least the dead don't talk back. Sick people, you know, when you're sick, you're scared, right? When you're in a hospital, you are scared. And you don't realize that you are one of about 12 people that any singular nurse has to look after. Colleen says, I think the point of our education from a government perspective is just to create a workforce for businesses. Yikes. And I think the government is also trying to keep people sick so they can take their money. actually. I think that's what the healthcare system is making everyone do as well. Because in Australia, we have free healthcare. You get sick, you get help. You get sick, you get help. Willow says all the blue states pay teachers 6 figures once you have a master's. Oh, I didn't know that. Once you have a master's? Lopez says official... Oh, it has? When did that get announced? Right now? Where is that on? Can you unmute and tell me what's going on? Because I got a text about it from Matt today and I've been sitting on it.
Yeah. Just came on Instagram just a few minutes ago. I mean, the Peacock, the apocalypse will be televised. Surprise, bitches.
Does it
It's
say
official.
anything else? Like how many episodes or
It
anything?
just doesn't say any details. Said San Diego Comic-Con probably going to get all the details, but more coming in the next few weeks.
Cool. So, NBC, I just have to know what I can say and what I'm not allowed to say. NBC has greenlit a TV series, who knows how many episodes, for television, which means we are getting a live action series. That was announced like 2 months ago. No, it was announced that they were pitching, like that they had the rights to it. It can sit in production purgatory. Like, look at Red Rising. Red Rising has been with several different places, but it never got greenlit to be made. You can work on it. They can have the rights to it, but it's not in development anymore. It's happening. Tim Hawk says how many Warburtons in how many cameos? Well, if you're following Talon, he's hell-bent set on being seen as at least a Carl. Nicolas Cage for Prepotente. We should definitely get those castings in because this is happening.
Honestly, getting Patrick Warburton to play Daddy Carl, like in the flashbacks, if you ever get that far, would be perfect.
I know. I mean, he voiced him in the books, in the audiobooks. Darren said that from the Variety article, it says that Chris Yost will write and executive produce a series with Seth MacFarlane set to executive produce under his Fuzzy Door banner. I met Chris Yost last year. I pitched myself as Heckler. Everyone laughed. That's okay. You got to ask. I was like, I could beef up. Even Matt was like, how's your Icelandic accent? And I was like, how's fucking yours? Not a good comeback. Didn't give me any favors. Let's hope it makes it way all the way to completion. Bianchi, I think the word you're looking for is splooge, but that's okay. Maud for Lexus, though. No, you know, a few people have hit me up about that. So Lexi is Odette's assistant, who is supposed to be tall and blonde. So yeah, Maud for Lexi, let's start it. But the problem is she only really shows up in books like 7 and 8. So you want to hope they get more seasons.
Floor, so you'd only be at the end of a season anyway, or the start of one, depending on how they do those interviews.
I'll fucking take it. And I'll have a little chat to the Members Plus after this about the Maud strategy that's been going on BTS.
By the way, Tim has been wanting to ask a question for a while.
Oh, Tim hasn't read the fucking books. Go on, Tim. What's your question?
It wasn't a question. It was a comment about teachers and getting paid.
Yeah.
It can. I had a professor in college that had his PhD in astrophysics, and he was teaching statistics and linear algebra instead of working at like Blue Origin or SpaceX or NASA or something like that. And I asked him why, because he obviously would have been making way more money. And he said, well, because I was in school long enough to get my PhD, which means I have a metric fuck ton of student loans. But if I teach for 10 years in the public space, those will be forgiven. So there used to be, I don't know if there still is, but there used to be a caveat for student loans if you're a public servant like that your student loans would be forgiven.
Public servant or indentured servant?
Well, teaching college for 10 years is not necessarily indentured servitude, but it would have forgiven his student loans, that's a lot. Especially to get a PhD.
If you want to be a doctor, you shouldn't have to pay for it.
I'm not saying I agree with you, Mom.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you're wrong. I agree with you. I was just pointing out that for teachers, there is that caveat.
Well, here's the silver lining. If he did work for NASA or the Jet Propulsion, he might be dead by now. So who knows? That's another conspiracy if you want to go down that thread.
That is a rabbit hole we don't need to go into.
Just saying. Anyway, Chimhawk saying a dialect coach for a French accent anytime soon. Maybe some very red lipstick. Are you trying to say that I would make a certified psycho? Is that like, would I be like good as a deranged sex doll head?
I'm going to kill your mother.
I just did it. Did you see that? Here, I'll do it again. I guess give me a second to get the accent. Hold on 1 second. Press the fucking button, guys.
I'm going to kill your mother.
Why did I do that all at once? That was my audition.
Wow. So what, you did it twice in a row. You echoed yourself.
We need to practice this. This is where my donut comes out. We need to practice before we do this. Anyway, what exciting news. I might have to go make a bunch of videos and post it online about it. But we're hanging out in the chat for the extras. Your homework is to read Song of Achilles, the whole book. It should be the same amount of time as half of A Parade of Horribles. This time next week, we'll be chatting about it. So happy Pride, everyone. Happy Pride. Read about men in love. Thank you. I could voice the kangaroo. Get out of here. Get out of here. I'm going to quickly raid, but I can do that